What's up, everybody? This is YG God Complex, and today we're going to be taking a look at my overview of Ubisoft's latest third person combat action game, For Honor, which is set for release on February the 14th. Now, today we're going to be taking a look at my overview of Ubisoft's latest third person combat action game, For Honor, which is set for release on February the 14th. Now, today we're only going to be scratching the surface of the things that are available in For Honor. Things like the Faction Wars, the how to play screen, which was particularly impressive to me, as well as the combat mechanics, and then my final thoughts. So this is not going to be a in-depth, detailed look at the game, the individual classes and things that come with it. That will be a part of the open beta on February the 9th, as well as the full game release on February the 14th that I'll be covering. So stay tuned if you want the details and the specifics. This is just going to be a quick glance at some of the more impressive things about the game. So first thing we're going to look at is the faction war. Now, this entire game is based around this faction war between three opposing factions, the Vikings, Samurais, and then also the Knights. This game comes fully equipped with a single player campaign as well, which Ubisoft said they designed entirely to be based around a full experience. And so even if you didn't want to play the multiplayer, you still had that full experience in the single player campaign as well, which is very exciting. Now, I haven't been able to see any of that content yet through the closed beta, and we probably won't be able to take a look at it until the full game releases on the 14th. Now, taking a step back to the multiplayer, as you can see in the footage, the map is divided into three color-coded segments. The Samurais are going to be in green, the Knights are going to be yellow, and then my Vikings are in red. Now, I love this faction war concept, and I'll explain it here in just a second, a little bit more in depth, but I love the faction war concept in this game. So I'm shooting all of this footage, and every bit of this I'll be playing on PlayStation 4. So if there are any longtime PlayStation players watching this video, if you can remember the game Mag from back in the day, that was very much the same concept of a faction war between those opposing factions, and you were very loyal to your brand. There were Facebook pages, and that's what you loved, is the faction that you represented in that war. That's very much the same feeling that I'm getting from For Honor at this point. Now, where I think Ubisoft got it right better than the team that developed Mag was that in Mag, when you picked your faction, you had specific classes and things that you could and couldn't do. Well, for those who have never played this game, I want you to pick the faction that you like the most and that you want to support, because Ubisoft gave us the ultimate freedom to be able to play whatever class that we wanted, regardless of the faction that we're supporting, which was very important to me because there are some crazy good classes in the other factions, but I just want to support the Vikings. I have the freedom to do that, which was very important, and I think it's a great step in the faction war process. Now, the faction war progression, the way that this is played in the multiplayer online experience, is that it is divided into three segments, and that's going to be territory updates. So, territory updates last 6 hours, and then territory updates are going to build into the rounds, which last 2 weeks, and then seasons, which last 10 weeks. And there's a cooldown period between the seasons. Now, the way that you defend or control territories is going to be at the end of every single match that you play. You're going to be awarded war assets that you can deploy in territories. You can deploy them in your own to bolster your defenses, or you can deploy them into another area to try to take it over. Now, at the end of a round and also at the end of the season, you get rewards based on how well that your faction plays. And like I mentioned earlier, there's a cooldown period between the seasons and when it restarts. Now, the faction war video to the game will tell you that the world will forever be changed based on the outcome of previous wars. I have no clue what that means, but that's very exciting that if the Vikings were to win the first war, it could have some kind of an outcome on on upcoming wars. So I have no idea what that means, but that's awesome. I can only imagine what that's going to entail. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the how to play screen as well, because I felt this was really, really important, and then also very well done on Ubisoft's part. A game like For Honor, the nature of this game is there's going to be a very steep learning curve, and there is. So I want to be able to set you up with that expectation that it's not going to be something you can just walk in and absolutely destroy right off the bat. You're going to have to put some work in, though this isn't a Lord of the Rings game or God of War. You can't just run in and smash your sword and things are going to die. It doesn't work that way. So the how to play section is very in depth actually. Ubisoft did a really good job of adding practice and advanced practice modes to give you the basics, and then also give you a platform to work on the specific move sets for the characters. There is a free mode as well, which is pretty much a never-ending game match that you can queue up for, as well as dual practice as well against level 0 and level 1 bots controlled by the computer. So there's also game mode videos to give you a breakdown of those mechanics, as well as hero fight videos and faction war video, just to give you an overview, a little taste of everything going on. So this is a really good resource for newer players. I feel that this platform is going to be a little discouraging at first because of the steep learning curve, but there's a wonderful how to play section to help the newer players out, so have no fear. Now, moving into the next segment that we're going to talk about was the actual selling point of the game for me, which was the combat system. I originally heard about For Honor at E3 last year, and the concept sounded fantastic. It really sounded like a lot of fun, but I felt that for the game to be great, Ubisoft was going to have to execute nearly perfect to make the combat system fluid and fun to play. Well, I'm here to tell you that Ubisoft absolutely killed it. They did such a fantastic job with the combat system. I couldn't stop talking about it, and it's my favorite piece of the entire game. Moving into the specifics of the combat system and why I love it so much, For Honor uses a 3-point combat system. So in this video, you're checking out that I'm actually going to start switching stances, and you're going to use your targeting button, which is to hold left trigger, and when you hold left trigger, it's going to lock onto a player, and use your right thumbstick to switch your stance between left, right, and overhead, as I'm doing in the video. Now, this will dictate which direction you're going to be swinging your weapon, but it will also be dictating which direction your character will be blocking. Now, you must be asking yourself, well, how do I learn to recognize what stance or what direction the opposing enemy is in? In the video you're going to see here real shortly, when I start fighting some of these bots in training, you're going to see a red arrow come out from the center of their body, and it's going to show left, right, or up. It'll tell you which direction they are coming from, so you know which direction to block. As you're holding L2, if you're not holding L2, I don't believe that arrow shows up, so you have to be actually locked onto them and target them, and you're just going to flip your thumbstick in the direction that they are swinging. Now, the system is super fluid, so even if you think you're a little slow, don't worry, just go ahead and try to switch stance. It's so fluid, and there's not really much of a delay on it at all. Most of the time you can still pull it up, even mid-combo, to be able to pull off the successful defense. In addition to the 3-point combat system, you also have to deal with mechanics like stamina, for instance. So just like in any other game you've ever played that has a stamina mechanic, it's the same thing in For Honor. You don't want to run low on stamina. You are going to passively regenerate it in and out of combat as well. And in addition, so when you get completely fatigued, when you run out of your stamina and become completely fatigued, you're going to regenerate slowly, and you're not going to be able to do nearly as much, like roll around. You're not going to be able to block as effectively or do nearly as much damage when you're swinging. Now, you've already seen in the video me land a couple of executions, so we're going to go ahead and talk about that as well, because that's probably one of the biggest and more fun mechanics of the entire game. We all worry about death, and so we do have to worry about, death and respawning and being killed. So a tip for killing an enemy player is do your absolute best to execute them. So when you die, it's a 12-second respawn timer in most game modes, and when you're executed, there is a additional 3-second penalty. So as you can see in the video, I'm getting ready to land an execution, and you can only land these executions when you get the last hit with a heavy attack. You have the option to use your square or triangle on PS4 to land that execution, and they are gruesome. There's a lot of decapitations. You can gut somebody. Every class is completely different on how they want to execute people, but it is a real and gruesome thing in For Honor, and probably one of the more fun things. Nothing is better than getting into a heated battle with another player and then just taking his head off or snapping his neck. It's very rewarding. Now, last but not least, one of the main things I worry about when it comes to fighting games, as far as the combat system goes, is an overly defensive player. Nobody wants to play against a player who's just going to crouch and defend like in Mortal Kombat. You want to be able to have a successful way to guard break. and For Honor gives you that. So with your square, whenever an enemy is guarding or over guarding, you have the ability to use your square to guard break. Then you can do a mix up or a combo, or you can square and then with the Raider at least you're going to be able to hit square again and you can tackle them or do some sort of a stun. Every character is a little bit different. All the characters are very, very individual in the way that they do these types of moves. But you don't have to fear a character who is defending too much. And as well as for you, some of the tips that I ran into was be careful over defending, utilize your dodge and your range to your advantage, and when you're doing combos, not like this video you're currently watching here where I'm swinging constantly to the same direction. This is a horrible example to show you, but whatever, one of my first games. Constantly mix it up and come from different directions. Okay, so that'll help you get some more successful attacks off. A lot of the people that I beat would sit in the same stance and I would just tee off on their head, and you know, the rest is history from there, right? So last but not least, I just wanted to speak to the character piece for a minute. We're not going to be going into the specifics. That's going to come later on once the game releases, and I'll be doing smaller, more specific videos. But For Honor has 9 classes currently, 3 per faction, and Ubisoft just a couple days ago announced that they were going to be releasing 6 more classes upon the release of the game, as well as new maps. So that'll give us 15 in total. These classes are very individual, very different. They each have their own abilities, and as they level up in prestige, they get more customization options as well. So I encourage you to go in there, play around with it, find out really what you like, and don't be concerned about any chatter in terms of something being overpowered or too strong, because that conversation's totally out there, which I'll address here in just a minute, and my thoughts on that. Now, I just completed the closed beta of For Honor, and here we are only a couple days away from the open beta as well, which I'm excited that they're going to do before the release. So anyone who's watching this video or has considered playing the game, go in, play the open beta. It's not going to hurt. The worst case scenario is you're not going to like it, you'll uninstall it, and you won't think about it ever again. You really have nothing to lose, but you could potentially fall in love with this game. It is incredibly addictive. So there was a little bit of chatter about some connectivity issues during the beta. It absolutely happened, and I've also heard quite a bit of negativity around it, which kind of surprised me. Doing this kind of a thing and playing pre-release content for as long as I have, I've come to learn that connectivity issues is the #1 thing you should come to expect from a closed beta, and you really shouldn't be too concerned with it to an extent. Now, if it's really, really bad, and there's a huge difference between a couple disconnects and the game is absolutely unplayable. I only ran into a couple connectivity issues. The game was totally playable, say 90%, probably being a little generous, but 90% of the time that I had it. So I didn't see any real issues with connectivity. That is something that should be expected when you're playing pre-release. So don't look too much into that if that's what you're hearing. Last but not least, I want to talk about some balancing stuff in the game. When you have a game that's based around PvP like this one, balancing is always going to be a conversation. Always. Every game that I've ever played with a PvP focus has got some kind of a balancing issue. Now, there's a lot of talk around the Nobushi class being the #1 most overpowered or cheap class in the game. I don't really buy that, only coming from there's been an alpha and there's also been a closed beta. When you're looking at balancing, it's really 2 issues. Is the character really strong, or stronger than everything else out there, or has the community just not had enough time to learn how to deal with it? Nobushi is definitely individual to the game because she has so much reach and she's very difficult to deal with. However, I don't think that the fact that she is annoying and difficult to deal with makes her overpowered. I believe it's going to come down to player skill and figuring out how to deal with her. I'm not convinced that she's overpowered and in need of a nerf just yet, but that conversation could totally change once we go through the open beta and who knows, maybe into release. I was actually very impressed with how balanced the game feels right off the bat. Nobushi, as you can see, I'm about to kill her right now. A little annoying, but I don't think in need of a nerf by any means. So That's all that I've got as far as the video goes. Sorry that it was so wordy. Felt like there was a lot to say. There's been a lot of chatter about this game, and it's extremely exciting. I want to be able to give you all my thoughts and the way my brain's working on this game, and so you can develop whether you want to actually purchase the game or play the open beta. I really think this game is wonderful. It hit the nail on the head. As long as Ubisoft stays on top of the connectivity issues and continues support for it, I think this is going to be one of the best games of the year, the most unique experience of the year, and I cannot wait to see what else is in store for this game. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching the video. I appreciate it, and I really appreciate your support throughout social media. Now, I also want to go ahead and take this chance to apologize to everyone following me on Facebook. I had this video ready to roll about 4 days ago, and I did a viewing with some friends. Luckily for me, my friends are good enough to where they'll give me some honest feedback, and I wrote a script for the video. It was really shitty, and I sounded monotone, like I wanted to teach a literature class or something. It was really, really horrible. So we reshot the video, and this is our final product. Thank you for your patience. If you like what you saw and you want to see more, especially of the For Honor coverage, please like and comment below and subscribe to the YouTube channel, as well as follow me on Facebook for the latest updates at facebook.com/YGTheGod. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see many of you on the battlefield.